we can see that there are these cutouts. There's 3 cutouts in the middle of the outsole. So what exactly is that? What's going on, you guys? My name is Nate and this is my first video. Before we get into breaking down some of the latest leaks of the Adizero Prime X, I wanted to introduce myself. I am a just graduated senior in high school planning to run in college. I am a running shoe lover, as you can see, and I'm sure a lot of you guys viewing this video are as well. Like I said before, this is my first video on this channel, and I imagine this channel to be about breaking down the latest leaks of upcoming super shoes and other running content, and who knows what this channel might have in the future. So before we get into things, I just wanted to say that everything I'm about to say in this video is all just my opinion. It's all just speculation. So if you disagree or want to add to something that I say in this video, please feel free to comment something down below. I'm also trying to come up with lots of new video ideas in the future, so if you have an idea of something that I can make a video on, definitely leave a comment of that as well. So without further ado, let's get into breaking down some of the latest leaks of the Adizero Prime X and the Adidas Adios Pro 2. Alright, so if we take a look at the Adios Pro 2 first, here we got a leak of a purple one by Rolos. Shout out him. All these leaks are from Instagram accounts, so I definitely didn't find these myself, and without them, this channel wouldn't exist. So shout out all those Instagram accounts. I'll list them all right here. That's where I get all my running content from. And if we're looking at it, there's definitely some sort of vaporweave material going on, something different from the Adios Pro 1. And if we look at it, I think it looks pretty good. The main change of the shoe being the midsole, which I really like, because I think that the first Adios Pro was a little bit underdeveloped. The design of it was a little bit rushed. Of course, I really like the carbon rods that they had going through them, but just the general aesthetic of the shoe I think was a little rushed. There's a digital image and you can really see this new cutout they have in the midsole, and I think this gives it a really nice modern looking design, because after all, what attracts people to things like the Vaporfly, the Alphafly, even the Dragonfly, is that they look new, they look modern, they look cutting edge. So if the old Adios Pro kind of looked like, you know, your average Toyota Corolla, the new Adios Pro, to me, you know, this looks like an Audi R8. This looks like sleek, really modern, you know, really aggressive looking, which I really like. What I really like about the Adios Pro 2 design is their exposed carbon rods. And what I think is super cool is the fact that just 3 of them are exposed, kind of making, you know, the classic 3 stripes logo of Adidas. And I think overall the new design is awesome. Hopefully there's gonna be some new performance gains as well, but I think that the main idea to this update was aesthetic, and I think that was a really good idea, because when you're looking at something like the Vaporfly in the Adios Pro, most people are gonna go with the Vaporfly specifically just because it looks high-tech. It's gonna make you feel fast. Alright, so now let's start talking about the Adizero Prime X. There was definitely a lot of changes from the leaks we saw earlier this fall. So if we look at another photo from Rolos 13, kind of looks like the Alphafly with this big cutout in the middle of the shoe. But this black piece right here is actually a carbon plate, or what looks to be a carbon plate. And the carbon plate seemed to wrap all the way down to the very bottom of the shoe, if you see that right there. Here's another picture right here that I screenshotted, and we can see that carbon plate with it says Adizero right there, was on the bottom. And so this shoe has definitely changed a lot since the fall. So one of the reasons why I thought they originally scrapped this design of the Adizero Prime X was because it was above that 40mm limit, and this thing definitely looks beefy, so I could definitely assume that this is above 40mm. But that probably wasn't the reason, because if we look at the new Prime X design, a lot of people believe that it is above 40mm as well. And if we swipe over to, I think it's like the inside image, you can't really see it quite on Instagram. When you zoom in onto the midsole right on this bottom corner, it looks like it says 50mm right in the corner, which would make sense, because I believe on the inside corner of the Adios Pro 2, it says, I don't think this, yeah, this image doesn't have it, but it says something like 39 or 40 millimeters as well. Because the stack height matched that number at the bottom, they think that the Prime X must be 50 millimeters, which is pretty crazy, a 50 millimeter shoe. If this shoe is going to be 50 millimeters, then what exactly is this shoe for? Because it looks just like an Alphafly competitor, just like, you know, a world-class racing shoe. But if it's above that 40 millimeter limit, what the heck is this shoe for? And so that's what we're here in this video to find out. So a lot of people think that the Prime X is going to be very similar to the Nike Tempo Next Percent, which, if you don't know what that is supposed to be the training partner to the Nike Alphafly. And I actually have the Tempo Next Percent with me, so let me go get that. So the Nike Tempo Next Percent is made of two different types of foam. They have their special Zoom X foam, and then they also have their special Nike React foam. So the React foam is supposed to be, you know, their training oriented foam. This foam lasts really long, it's nice and bouncy. And their Nike Zoom X foam is, you know, their racing oriented foam. It's supposed to be light, it's supposed to be fast. And this shoe actually has both, because after all, this is supposed to be a training shoe. The shoe has tempo in the name, so it's meant for those faster days. It's meant for maybe longer track workouts. And that's really the shoe's bread and butter. You can definitely use the shoe for daily training, but I like to use the shoe on workout days. So the Prime X, is the Prime X really meant to be, you know, a workout or tempo day shoe like this shoe? Well, yes and no. Obviously, there's no way for us to know exactly what the Prime X is going to be used for, but we can come up with some ideas. If we look at the Prime X, it doesn't really seem like a more affordable version of the Alphafly like the Tempo Next Percent does. You know, the Tempo Next Percent, it's not made with the more expensive Atom knit. It doesn't use Zoom X foam all the way through it. You know, it doesn't have a carbon fiber plate. There's things in the Tempo Next Percent that make it a less premium shoe than something like the Alphafly. But if we look at the Prime X, it looks more premium than the Adios Pro 2 to me. If we look at the Prime X, there's that Light Strike Pro foam through that entire midsole, and so there it's already different from the Tempo Next Percent. I think things like the Boston 10 have, you know, half Light Strike Pro, half normal Light Strike foam, but this is just all Light Strike foam throughout the entire midsole. If we look at the outsole of the Prime X, you know, it's really different. It's got much more grip and it's all continental rubber. And so clearly this shoe is made to be a lot more versatile than the Adios Pro 2. It's not just meant for road marathons. We can see that there are these cutouts. There's 3 cutouts in the middle of the outsole. So what exactly is that? Well, I remember reading on an earlier leak that had the description of the Prime X that they said there's multiple layers of Light Strike Pro foam. This foam that's sticking out here is more of a tan color, and if we look at something like the new Boston 10, this is also going to have that tan Light Strike Pro foam. And I don't know if this is just a coincidence, but I was thinking, just like how the Zoom X foam comes in different densities, the Tempo Next Percent Zoom X foam feels a little bit different than something like the Alphafly Zoom X foam, and even more so something like the Nike what the heck is it called? The Nike Invincible. Their Zoom X foam is much squishier than the Zoom X foam on the Alphafly. You know, there's different densities of this nitrogen infused foam. This tan Light Strike foam might be a little bit squishier, a little bit friendlier than the Light Strike Pro foam that we've seen in the past. And so if I'm right, and we look at this image of the new Adidas Prime X, we can see that this different density of Light Strike Pro foam is actually showing and is being exposed at the bottom of the new Prime X, similar to something like the Alphafly's air bubbles. I don't necessarily think these cutouts are going to save too much weight, but I think it's interesting that they're kind of showing off this different density of this foam. And here it's kind of confusing because even though that it has a more versatile, a little bit heavier and grippier of an outsole, you know, there's still a lot of weight saving going on. It still looks like it has that Vaporweave-esque material fore and upper. You know, it has a very minimal heel counter and tongue. There's still that large cutout over here exposing some of the rods for a little bit of weight saving, and so what exactly is this shoe for? Personally, I actually think that the Prime X isn't trying to compete with any other shoe. It's actually making its own category. And for this, I really applaud Adidas for, trying to be innovative and not just doing what every other company is doing by just slapping a carbon plate in the shoe and calling it a day. They're really trying to make something different. They're really trying to make something that runners want. So what do runners want exactly? Well, if we see the people that are buying super shoes, people aren't just buying Vaporflies, people aren't just buying Adios Pros to race in them once and then be done with them forever like they were originally made for. People are buying them and training in them every single day. I think what's happening is, even though there's something like the Tempo Next Percent, which is supposed to be the training version of something like the Alphafly, people still prefer to run in a shoe that they believe makes them, the fastest they can be, makes them the lightest they can be. Why run in a shoe every day that makes you kind of fast and kind of light when you can have the fastest, lightest shoe out there? Again, people aren't just buying these super shoes to race in them. People are training in them. And I think that's what Adidas sees, and Adidas is capitalizing on this. And for that, I think this shoe is going to be a huge success. Looking back at the Prime X, there's that Light Strike Pro foam all throughout the midsole, just like the Adios Pro, but even higher. So again, I don't really think the Prime X is meant to race in. I think this shoe is meant for serious athletes to be able to train at the highest possible level. Be able to do their tempo runs, be able to do their long runs even, be able to do, track workouts all in this shoe, and even for some people run every day in this shoe if they please. Again, maybe it doesn't matter if it's above that 40mm stack height, because at the end of the day, it's a training shoe, it's not a racing shoe. So kind of going against what I just said, a lot of other people think the shoe is just going to be a racing shoe that, your recreational, maybe not as serious runners can wear at, their local half marathon or their local 5K, just to make them feel good, make them feel fast. Yes, that is true about this shoe, but I think that you're also going to see a lot of more serious athletes training in this shoe as well. Okay, so if I were to wrap this all up into one last sentence, I would say that the new Adidas Adizero Prime X is going to be just as performance oriented as something like the Nike Alphafly or the Nike Vaporfly, except it doesn't fit inside the World Athletics regulations. It probably won't be used in the marathons by some of the more serious athletes, but I think we will see a lot of the more serious athletes training in this shoe. This is supposed to be a very performance-oriented shoe, a very fast shoe, just something that you won't see on the pro scene. Alright guys, so this is going to be the ending of my first video ever. And if you really enjoyed this type of content, please consider subscribing, because this is my first video ever. I really want to start pumping out videos, breaking down the latest super shoe leaks, because this is the stuff I love. And if you're watching this video, you probably love this stuff too. I already have some ideas of what my next video is going to be. I'm either going to make a video about the upcoming distance spikes from brands like New Balance and Adidas and Brooks, and how those brands might be able to beat out the Nike Dragonfly, or I'm going to make a video about a new unreleased New Balance super shoe spike that I actually saw myself at a local pro meet. I'll show you guys a quick sneak peek of that unreleased New Balance spike I saw myself. Ready? Showing in 3, 2, 1, boom! Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one.